This is a photo of an extremely ancient map which appears to show a very well-developed Greenland just before the last ice age around 900 years ago. But it gets even weirder because this is not the only mysterious pre-ice age map which shows a similar thing, and science has absolutely no idea what to make of them. What if humanity's true history has been buried under miles of ice? If you want to know more about what modern scientists are ignoring when it comes to life before the ice age, stay tuned. Oh, this is going to be an incredible journey through time. Chapter 1. Mysterious Ancient Maps. Many scientific theories state that civilization as we know it began around 7000 BC after the last ice age ended. However, this is challenged by a number of mysterious maps which seem to show advanced civilizations flourishing during the ice age, including one which seems to show the entire world. But why would an advanced civilization bother making such a map right before the ice age? Why did they stop making maps and other records once the ice age started? And how did their knowledge survive until now? If we take a closer look at this map, we can see that the author has written 10,000 on it. This is assumed to mean 10,000 Daozier cubits, where 1 cubit equals about 50 centimeters. So 10,000 cubits is about 5 kilometers. So if we measure the size of the landmass labeled 10,000 according to this map, it turns out to be exactly the size of Greenland. This would therefore mean that this map is showing the size of Greenland before the start of the Ice Age around 12,900 years ago, which is absolutely wild. But this isn't the only map like this. So here's another one, this time with 2 landmasses labeled 12,000. If we do the same measurements as before, we get that each of these landmasses are roughly the size of Great Britain. In this case, the author has written 12,000 twice, once for the top left island and once for the bottom right island. This would mean that this map is showing the size of Great Britain just before the Ice Age, around 900 years ago, right before the ice covered everything. But how could people have known the exact size of Great Britain back then? How could they have measured it? And why would they have bothered to record it before the Ice Age? Here's another one. On this map, there are 3 land masses labeled 8,000, meaning that they were each 8,000 cubits in size. If we measure them, we find that they're each roughly the size of Germany. This one is really strange because all 3 land masses are connected, yet they are all labeled 8,000. Was this some kind of mistake? Or does it suggest something else? And why are they labeled 8,000 instead of saying 8,000 for one land? Mass and 7,000 for the third. If this was a mistake, why wouldn't they have made another mistake and labeled all 3 differently? This makes no sense unless they were actually meant to be the same size. And here's the final map. It's quite faded, but we can still see 3 land masses. We can also clearly see the number 6,000. If we measure these, we find that they are each roughly the size of France. But there's one very interesting detail. They are all connected, just like the German example. But these 3 land masses represent different parts of the world. So how could they all be the same size if they are located in different places? What does this tell us about how big the rest of the world was back then? And why would anyone bother making such a map in the first place? Chapter 2. Theories about Atlantis and Antediluvian Civilizations. Some believe that Atlantis was a real place which existed 9,600 years ago. Some even believe that it was the center of an advanced global network of civilizations. They claim that around 12,000 years ago, when the last ice age started, Atlantis and the rest of the network used their advanced technology to escape to other planets or dimensions. They believe that this is why many ancient texts talk about great floods and the end of the world, because they knew what was coming and wrote about it. Some argue that Plato described Antarctica in his text about Atlantis. He may have learned this from his teacher, who traveled to Antarctica to learn about their advanced society. Others think that he simply imagined it, because he talks about it in such great detail, far more than any other part of Atlantis. It is possible that he combined his imagination with stories he heard from travelers, creating one of the most detailed fictional descriptions of Antarctica ever written. The Sumerians believed that the gods came from a place called Nibiru, which orbits the sun every 3,600 years. They believed that the gods came to Earth to mine gold and other valuable resources, building massive pyramids across the planet to serve as portals to their home planet. According to some, this is why we find pyramid-like structures in so many places around the world, because they were built by the same people using the same plans given to them by the gods. However, mainstream scientists disagree, arguing that there were many different reasons for people to build pyramids. Some say that people in South America never saw the stars in the sky because of the smoke covering the sky. This means that they couldn't have possibly created calendar systems based on the stars. Instead, they built calendars based on the cycles of the moon and the cycles of nature. Some argue that these calendars prove that people knew much more about astronomy than we give them credit for. They built towers and other structures to accurately predict eclipses and other astronomical events. Others argue that these calendars prove that they had no idea what they were doing. They simply noticed that certain plants grew and shrank at certain times of the year, and they used this to create rough calendars. Astronomy was often confused with astrology, so they created crude deities based on the phases of the moon. None of this was based on any real knowledge of the universe. Chapter 3. Forbidden Archaeology Discoveries. Forbidden archaeology is the study of discoveries which have been ignored by the archaeological community for various reasons. Sometimes evidence is ignored because it goes against the official narrative. Other times it's simply ignored because it hasn't been properly dated. There are countless examples of forbidden archaeology, but some stand out as being particularly strange. One of the oldest pieces of forbidden archaeology is the Baghdad Battery. These are a series of clay jars which date back to the Parthian and Sassanid periods in ancient Mesopotamia. They range from around 250 BC to 650 AD. Each jar is about 13 centimeters tall, and they all have a copper tube inside of them. Some also have a lead or iron rod inside of them. When archaeologists found these, they realized that they had the same structure as modern batteries. This was very strange because batteries weren't invented until around 1800 AD. Even stranger is the fact that some of these jars contain traces of acidic liquid. Could these have been used to generate electricity? If so, how? Who used them and for what purpose? Mainstream scientists claim that they were simply used to store scrolls and other objects. Then there are the Goshen stone tablets. These are a set of 24 tablets which were discovered in Syria in the early 20th century. They were originally thought to date back to the Bronze Age, but later analysis suggested that they were far older. They seem to date back to between 18,500 and 16,500 years ago. What's weird is that they were inscribed with numbers, lines, dots, and other markings. Some claim that these are evidence of an advanced prehistoric civilization, while others claim that they are simply random markings left by primitive humans. Mainstream scientists agree that these are too old to be evidence of an advanced civilization, though they admit that more work needs to be done to fully understand them. There are also numerous pieces of high-tech-looking debris, which have been found across the globe, ranging from simple tools to complex devices. Many of these objects are considered to be out-of-place artifacts, because they are far too advanced to have been created by primitive humans. Some examples of these out-of-place artifacts include the Lamikvi stone tools, which are around 3.3 million years old. They are way too complex to have been made by apes, but they are also way too primitive to have been made by humans. The Hobbit's Pinnacle, which is a sharp metal spike, which was found sticking out of a rock in southern Africa. It's about 75 centimeters long, and it dates back around 300,000 years. Scientists are unsure what it is, and no one knows why a sharp metal spike would have been left sticking out of a rock in southern Africa. The Koso artifact, which is a strange piece of metal which was found in California in the 1960s. It dates back around 100,000 years and seems to be man-made. Mainstream scientists argue that it's simply a piece of slag which broke off of a meteorite. However, this theory is disputed, and many believe that it is evidence of ancient astronauts. Then there is the Baghdad Battery again, which proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that ancient humans possessed knowledge of electromagnetism and applied it to everyday life. Chapter 4. Ancient Megastructures and Lost Technologies. Mainstream scientists claim that our ancestors were nomadic hunter-gatherers who lived in caves and made their tools from stone and wood. Some go even further and claim that we evolved from apes over millions of years. However, there is evidence of megalithic structures all over the world, which suggests that people were living in permanent settlements and using advanced tools long before the current accepted timeline allows. For example, we have the Pumapunku structure in Bolivia. This is a series of strange blocks which weigh up to 13 tons each. Strange thing is that they don't look like normal stones. Instead, they appear to have been cut using lasers or other advanced tools. The largest structure is 20 meters tall and about 100 meters long. No one knows how such a massive structure could have been built without heavy machinery. We also have the site in Peru. This is another massive structure made up of huge blocks of stone. However, unlike Pumapunku, it's unclear whether it was a temple, a fortress, or something else entirely. One of the strangest things about it is the fact that the stones appear to fit together perfectly without any mortar. Another piece of forbidden archaeology is the Yonaguni Monument. This is a large rock formation which looks like a giant staircase leading down into the ocean. Many believe that it's evidence of a lost civilization which lived on the island of Yonaguni. The island itself is shrouded in mystery, as are its origins. It may have been formed by a volcanic eruption, or it may have been deliberately created using advanced technology. Let's not forget the Moai statues on Easter Island. These are the famous monolithic human figures which have been found all over the island. Each statue weighs several tons, and they all face inland towards the island's interior. It's unclear who built them, why they were built, or how they were moved around the island. Many believe that they are evidence of a lost civilization, while others believe that they were built by the ancestors of today's native population. Chapter 5. What modern science gets wrong. One of the biggest problems with modern science is that it relies heavily on assumptions. Scientists assume that the Earth is around 4.5 billion years old. They assume that life on Earth evolved naturally over millions of years. And they assume that humans have only been around for about 200,000 years. All of these assumptions are based on limited evidence, and they have led to a lot of confusion. For example, the assumption that the Earth is billions of years old is based on the assumption that radioactive decay works at the same rate today as it did in the past. If this is true, then the Earth should be around 4.5 billion years old. However, if radioactive decay worked faster in the past, then the Earth could be much younger. Some scientists believe that radioactive decay worked much faster in the past, and that the Earth is only around 6,000 years old. The same thing can be said for life on Earth. Scientists assume that life evolved naturally over millions of years, but they haven't been able to prove this. Some believe that life was created by a higher power and that it was placed on Earth a long time ago. This would explain why life seems to be so complex and why there are no transitional fossils. Finally, the assumption that humans have only been around for 200,000 years is based on the assumption that evolution works at the same rate for all species. However, if evolution sped up or slowed down at different points in history, then our species could be much older. Some scientists believe that humans evolved much faster than other species because we were exposed to higher levels of radiation in the past. This would explain why we have such large brains and why we are so advanced compared to other animals. It is important to keep in mind that none of these theories have been proven. They are simply suggestions based on the available evidence. It is also important to note that modern science has made some amazing discoveries. We have learned so much about the universe and our place in it. However, it is also important to be aware of the limitations of science and to be open to new ideas. Science will never be able to prove or disprove the existence of a higher power. It can never prove or disprove the accuracy of ancient texts. And it can never prove or disprove the existence of a lost civilization. All that science can do is observe the natural world and try to understand it. Chapter 6. Final speculations and call to action. What do you think? Did humanity have a much longer history before the Ice Age than modern science believes? Were there advanced civilizations that lived in Greenland, Great Britain, France, and Germany before the Ice Age? Did they use advanced technologies that we can't even imagine? Or did they escape to other worlds before the Ice Age hit? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe for more videos. Thanks for watching.